What happens when a charity built on sacrifice becomes a catwalk for entitlement? What if the same woman who once walked behind her late Majesty's coffin, head bowed in solemnity, is now asking for a private jet, 6 stylists, and a convoy of armored vehicles, all to attend a charity event for wounded soldiers? And what if that wasn't even the most shocking part? This isn't just another Meghan Markle headline. This isn't about press or protocol or palace gossip. This is about a document. An email sent not to a friend or a fan or even to her publicist, but to the United Kingdom's own Invictus Games team, with demands so extraordinary, so boldly veiled in corporate language, that it left veterans, organizers, and even government insiders stunned into silence. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. Let's pause for a second, because this isn't happening in 2018. This isn't the wedding. This isn't Frogmore. This is now, with Invictus 2027 on the horizon, Birmingham preparing to welcome the world's wounded warriors and a figure looming over it all, making it clear her attendance comes at a cost. A high one, roughly £250,000, not in charitable donations, mind you, but in logistical reimbursements. A figure cloaked in sanitized language but containing some jaw-dropping items. A round-trip private jet from California. A 6-person glam squad available 24/7. A security convoy made up of police-grade armored SUVs. And that's just the start. The document, we're told, was titled plainly, Appearance Logistics, Proposal for Consideration. But inside it, a storm. Now, we've all seen extravagant celebrity riders before. Bottled spring water from the Himalayas. M&M bowls without the green ones. But this hit differently. Because this wasn't Coachella. This wasn't a Netflix red carpet. This was Invictus. A symbol of recovery, of resilience, of service. Founded by Prince Harry. Championed by veterans. Attended by amputees, trauma survivors, burn victims who climbed out of hell, and chose to walk back into the public light for something greater than themselves. So when Meghan's team sent that email, complete with demands that included a team of stylists, bespoke press control, and a request for privacy protocols that essentially turned the event into a closed set, people inside the Invictus circle were speechless. And it didn't stay quiet for long. Within days, the email had been passed to UK authorities, not leaked, not sent to the tabloids, but escalated. Because someone, somewhere, read those demands and decided enough was enough. That's where this story starts. But it's not where it ends. Because the email was just the spark. What followed, behind closed doors, was a tidal wave of frustration, fear, and fury. And not just among the game's volunteers. This reached the desks of high-ranking officials in the Ministry of Defense, senior aides inside the Home Office, even veterans who had once supported Harry's decision to bring Meghan into the fold were shaken. One official's words, which we'll explore later in this exposé, still ring in our ears. She's treating the Invictus Games like a product launch. Like it's hers. Let's be clear. Meghan Markle has always understood the power of appearance. Every public moment, every gesture, every outfit, carefully calibrated. That's not a criticism. That's part of what made her such a compelling figure early on. But this wasn't style. This was strategy. And when the cost of that strategy, both financial and emotional, began to emerge, the cracks widened. Now, before we go deeper, let's ask the question at the heart of this entire exposé. Why does this story matter? Because charity isn't just about money. It's about trust. And when public figures begin treating charitable appearances as personal branding exercises, complete with 6-figure appearance packages, something begins to rot. This isn't just about Meghan. This is about what happens when influence collides with entitlement. When service meets self-image. When the people who sacrificed everything are made to wait in line, behind glam squads and security details. It's about a shift. Quiet, subtle, but corrosive. And that shift isn't theoretical. It's documented. You'll hear about the internal emails, the forwarded messages, the quietly recorded reactions, the fury that built inside the Invictus organizing committee, the long silences from Prince Harry, the message from the palace, the resignation of a founding member of the Games, the broker leak from California. Every thread pulls us deeper. But I want you to hold one image in your mind right now. A veteran, double amputee, sitting in the press tent of the last Invictus games. Shirt soaked in sweat, medal around his neck. No entourage, no handlers, just quiet dignity. Now place that next to the image in the email. A chartered Gulfstream, touching down at Birmingham Airport. Signature suite pre-cleared. Tarmac cleared of press. A fleet of armored SUVs waiting with tinted windows. A stylist, a hairdresser, a wardrobe assistant, a makeup artist, a backup makeup artist, and a lighting specialist on call. 24 hours a day. For 6 days. For a woman who once said she wanted to live a quieter life. That contrast, that contradiction, is what this video is about. Because beneath the surface of logistics and expense reports and event planning lies something deeper, something more human. It's the ache of being used. The betrayal felt by those who gave everything, only to watch the spotlight shift, once again, to someone who came to the party not to serve, but to be seen. And maybe, in her mind, she was serving. Maybe this was about presence, influence, elevating the cause through glamour and visibility. But what happens when that visibility comes with a price tag? A 6-figure price tag, paid, or expected to be paid, by a charity rooted in sacrifice. That's the story we're about to tell. And I want to be fair here. We're not going to rush this. We're going to take our time. Break this down. Follow the money. Follow the language. Understand the context. Pull apart the emails. Examine the silence from Buckingham Palace. And even ask the uncomfortable questions about Prince Harry's role. Because this wasn't done behind his back. And yet, he said nothing. Was it strategic silence? Or helplessness? Or something darker, resignation? We'll explore all of it. We'll also dig into the strange timeline of this email. Why it was sent so early, why certain travel bookings seemed to already be in place, and why someone inside the UK's Department for Culture, Media, and Sport called it the most audacious request they'd seen from a royal affiliate in years. We'll reveal the second email Meghan's team sent, the alleged damage control note, and why some officials saw it not as an apology, but a threat. We'll look at the whispers from inside Archewell. The spreadsheets, the branding decks, the monetization models for appearances. And yes, we'll hear from those who stood by her, too. Public defenders, Hollywood allies, even one celebrity friend who tried to vouch for her, but whose leaked text messages told a very different story. But above all, we'll listen to the veterans, the ones who trained in silence, who showed up without handlers, who put on their prosthetics and wheeled themselves onto that stage. Not for clout, not for press, but because they believed in something. And when they read that email, some of them broke down. You'll hear one of them, in their own words, later in this expose. But not yet, because there's one more twist to this introduction, and it comes from inside the Home Office. A leak, almost too quiet to notice. A single line, buried in an internal memo, now confirmed by 2 independent sources. It reads, "Given the nature of the request, it is recommended that Her Grace's appearance be reviewed in terms of security, optics, and protocol, and, if necessary, cancelled." Let that sit with you for a moment. Cancelled, not because of a safety risk, not because of illness, but because of optics. That's how far we've come. And yet, the email was only the beginning. What came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. You'd think something like this would leak straight to the press. And maybe that's what Meghan's team was worried about, that the wrong hands would twist the message, bend it into something tabloid-worthy. But that's not what happened. Not at first. The email wasn't dropped into a journalist's inbox. It didn't appear on social media. There was no whisper of it in gossip columns. It didn't even trigger alarm bells at first. It just landed, quietly, in the inbox of someone who wasn't supposed to question it. But they did. And that's where everything started to unravel. Now, I want to be careful here, because we've seen leaks before. We've seen anonymous sources that later evaporate under scrutiny. That's not what this is. This was a verified document, dated, time-stamped, sent from a secure address associated with Meghan's logistics coordinator, using Archewell's internal routing. The tone? Professional, crisp, almost sterile. But beneath that, there was heat. Subtle, but present. It began with a greeting. Formal, courteous, acknowledging the great work being done by the Invictus planning team. And then, just 3 paragraphs in, it pivoted. Not dramatically, not with exclamation marks or bold text, but with a phrase that would become the center of every internal conversation to follow. As Her Grace prepares to confirm her attendance at Invictus Birmingham 2027, we would like to submit the following logistical requirements for review and incorporation. Logistical requirements. It sounds harmless, doesn't it? Until you scroll, and scroll, and scroll. It was 5 pages, not a block of text, not an essay, a table, cleanly formatted, itemized, with estimated costs, responsible parties, expected timelines, and line by line, the illusion began to crack. Private aviation, California to Birmingham, Gulfstream 4 or better. No commercial options to be considered. Estimated cost, £78,000. Responsible party. To be coordinated with Invictus Foundation Transport Arm, with support from UK organizers. Timeline. Arrival 48 hours prior to first scheduled public appearance. You see where this is going. Then came the accommodations. Not a hotel. A private residence. Preferably off-grid, meaning outside of paparazzi radius, with blackout security protocols and pre-screened staff. Glam team. 6 personnel. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, personal stylist, assistant stylist, and lighting consultant. Available 24/7. Accommodation. To be housed within the same secured premises. Transport. Separate SUV allocation. Then the clincher. Security. For vehicle convoy. 2 armored SUVs, 1 lead scout car, 1 rear security vehicle. Team. Former government-grade protection specialists. Coordination with local police recommended. Note. Standard Invictus security to be considered insufficient given Her Grace's global profile and targeted nature of threats received in past engagements. That was the phrase that raised red flags. Standard security to be considered insufficient. Because that was a statement, not a request, not a suggestion. It told the recipients, what you're offering isn't enough. We come with our own definition of acceptable, and it will cost you. Now here's where things get even murkier. Because the final page didn't have a total figure. Not explicitly, but someone inside the committee did the math. Quietly. They added up the estimates, the line items, the recommended staff costs, transport, lodging, auxiliary services, per diem requests, and incidentals. The sum? Just over £247,000. Not a donation, not a pledge, not a contribution to the games or its beneficiaries. This was the cost of one person's attendance, disguised, neatly, under the umbrella of logistical necessity. So, who actually received this? And more importantly, who passed it along? According to internal memos we've reviewed, the email was sent to an Invictus event director, who we'll call Jane. That's not her real name, but we're protecting her identity for now. Jane had worked with the Games since 2016. She'd seen it grow. From a grassroots military project to a global celebration of recovery and competition. She wasn't new to royal involvement. She knew the politics, the optics. But when she read the email, she told one colleague, I thought it was a joke. And yet, it wasn't. There was no wink, no irony, just a firm expectation that someone, either the UK planning team, the Home Office, or Invictus donors, would foot the bill. Jane forwarded it, first to her superior, then, quietly, to someone in the Ministry of Defense. And from there, things moved fast. But let's pause here. Let's ask the question you might be asking. Why not just say no? Why didn't someone, anyone, reply with, this is inappropriate. We can't cover this. Come on your own terms, or don't come at all. Well, 2 reasons. The first? Harry. Because this wasn't just a guest. This was the wife of the founder. The woman who had stood beside him at multiple games. Who had, despite all the controversies, remained a symbol, to some, of progress and modernity within the monarchy. Her presence was still, in some circles, seen as a draw. For press. For donors. For the American audience. The second reason? Fear. Not of Meghan, per se, but of the machine around her. The headlines. The accusations of mistreatment. The whispers of racism. The risk that pushing back, even politely, would turn into a headline of its own. No one wanted to offend Meghan. That was the subject line of an internal email we obtained, sent from one staffer to another. No one wanted to offend Meghan. But here's the thing. Someone was already offended. And it wasn't the planners. It wasn't the government. It wasn't the royal aides or the organizers. It was the veterans. Because word travels, quietly, in mess halls and WhatsApp groups, and across shared rides to training grounds. And when a few of them saw the email, or at least heard about its contents, the reaction was swift.